G'day all, and welcome back to Unimig. Today we're going to give you 10 easy tips to make you a better and more knowledgeable welder. But enough chatter, so let's get stuck into it.
We're going to be talking about another common weld defect known as undercut, the causes and how to stay clear of this issue. Undercut is caused by too much heat in one area, always formed at the toe of the weld, where the weld metal hasn't filled in the groove, resulting in a weaker weld prone to cracks. To eliminate this problem, you need to make sure that you don't run your welder too hot, reducing the current and travelling at a slower speed, selecting the correct electrode or wire size for the job, making sure that you're keeping a tight and constant arc distance from the joint, and keeping your torch at a constant 45-degree angle to the joint. Today we'll be talking about polarity settings for MIG welding when you're using gas and gasless wire. It's important to get the polarity correct as it will determine how your weld will look and perform. Solid MIG wire needs to be DC electrode positive or DC EP, meaning that your torch remains in the positive terminal and your earth plugs into the negative terminal. It produces a nice stable arc, deeper penetration and a good weld bead characteristic, leading to a quality weld. On the other hand, when using gasless wire, you need to use DC electrode negative or DCEN, meaning that your torch remains in the negative terminal and your earth plugs into the positive terminal. This puts more heat into the workpiece as opposed to the filler wire, creating a desirable gasless weld. Today, we'll talk about welding dissimilar metals with the TIG process, more commonly stainless steel to low carbon steel. We'll go in depth on the correct filler wire to use, as well as some background knowledge on why we use certain filler wire, and finally, the correct tungsten type and preparation associated with this process. So welding stainless steel to low carbon steel isn't ideal at all, but in some circumstances it's necessary for the requirements of the job at hand. When we join dissimilar metals, mild steel TIG rod is out of the question and should not be considered at all. The reason behind this is that the solidified weld will form martensite, which has low ductility and has the potential to leave your weld with a crack over time, also resulting in rust and corrosion, especially if it's intended for outdoor use. Instead, we opt for 309 stainless steel TIG rod. It has a high ferrite content which lowers weld dilution and in turn prevents cracking. 309 TIG rod has a low carbon content and a high silicon content. The silicon assists in deoxidizing and removing impurities from the weld puddle and also improving the weld puddle fluidity. When you're choosing a tungsten electrode, there's a couple of options. Thoriated tungstens, which have a red tip, are the go-to when welding on DC, but these electrodes are radioactive, containing 2% thorium and can be hazardous when sharpening. So the safer options are the grey tip serrated or the gold tip lanthanated. The electrode will need to be sharpened to a point on the bench grinder, same as if you were applying it to any other DC process. As another tip, I would recommend using a gas lens with a bigger cup, simply because the gas coverage will assist in keeping impurities out of the whirlpool while it's still in its fluid state. And while a standard setup will cause turbulence, a gas lens gives you that even gas flow and wider coverage. Lastly, but a very important step to keep in mind is make sure you clean your weld joint before welding. Remove or mill scale using a grinder and a flap disc. Take it down the bare metal and clean both the stainless and the mild steel with a solvent to ensure a clean joint ready for welding. You're now ready to weld. Today we'll talk about weld craters and how to avoid them once you finish your weld. First and foremost, we recognise weld craters as a common weld defect. They are a weak point at the end of your weld that often results in the start of a crack as the metal cools. As a matter of fact, these craters occur because not enough filler metal was added to the end of the weld and the weld puddle wasn't reduced. For stick and MIG welding, it's more common due to welding at high currents. So we remedy this by backstepping a couple of millimetres and holding the torch at the end of the weld for a couple of seconds to fill the crater. A little trick that can be used with the TIG process is to apply a medium-sized tack where your weld will finish and weld up to it, making sure to add more filler wire as you reach that finishing point. In today's episode, we'll talk about spatter when MIG welding, as well as the measures that can be taken to minimise it. Spatter is small particles from the weld that attach to the surrounding areas of a welded joint. It is considered to be a weld defect in some circumstances, and even though you can't eliminate it completely, you can take a few steps to minimise it. Some causes of spatter include long arc length, voltage and wire speed don't match, contaminated surface, and wrong torch angle. Lastly, if need be, Anti-spatter is a great option which will enable you to chip off any unwanted spatter once you've completed your weld. In today's episode, we'll talk about the effect a welding arc can have on your eyes and skin and how to avoid the exposure so we can weld in a safe manner. A welding arc that can reach up to 6,000 degrees produces UV and infrared rays that are hazardous if you don't use the correct PPE. This can obviously lead to skin cancers and can cause a condition known as arc eye if you happen to look at the intense bloom for a period of time. Welding flash, otherwise known as arc eye, can lead to blindness over the years if you don't take precautions to avoid it. In saying that, welding jackets, welding gloves and a good quality welding helmet are all essential when taking on the task of any welding process to eliminate the risk associated with arc burns. In today's episode, we'll be talking about the benefits of using a gas lens compared to a normal setup when TIG welding. When we talk about a gas lens on a TIG torch, we refer to the part that replaces the standard collet body inside the head. It's paired with a collet and holds a tungsten in place. The gas lens has a baffle inside that helps distribute the gas evenly, as opposed to a normal setup which can cause turbulence of the gas, leaving the liquefied weld exposed to the atmosphere and prone to weld defects such as porosity. The downfall is that since the shroud is bigger in diameter, it can sometimes be a challenge to get into tight corners. But the good thing is, and I find this to be really handy, is that your tungsten can be more exposed beyond the shroud, up to 15mm as opposed to say 3mm on the traditional setup. In today's episode, we'll explain the pulse function when TIG welding, as well as when and where you should use it. When you're TIG welding on pulse, you have more control over the heat input of the job, greater control of the weld puddle, and in effect, you can minimise warping on thinner materials, as well as getting the same sort of penetration as without pulse. It also gives you that visually pleasing look, what we sometimes refer to as dime stacking, meaning that your welds will have a uniform look about them, as well as maintaining a good quality, high integrity weld. Keep in mind that the variables are endless. The settings and preferences come down to the welder. So don't be afraid to play around with the parameters if your TIG machine has a pulse function. In today's episode, we'll tackle the differences between active and inert gases when MIG or TIG welding. An inert gas such as argon or helium has no effect on the weld, and its only purpose is to protect the weld from large amounts of oxygen and the atmosphere while it's still in its liquid form. As we have discussed before, without the protection of argon, your weld will be contaminated, leading to weld defects. In saying that, active gases such as carbon dioxide, oxygen, hydrogen and nitrogen are sometimes introduced to the argon when welding ferrous metals to improve weld characteristics. An active gas adds electric conductivity, breaking down the weld surface tension, allowing for a more penetrative weld. Today we'll be looking at plugging unwanted holes that have been either drilled or cut, and we'll be using the TIG process. Say for instance, you've drilled an 8mm hole in a plate and it's in the wrong place. In this instance, our plate thickness is 10mm, so I'll set our machine to 100 amps and start to weld the outer edges of the hole, working my way around until I get to the middle, making sure that I'm feeding in plenty of fill metal so that I don't make the hole any bigger. The reason I weld around the edges so that I can bridge the gap and it doesn't drip through. Also, in some circumstances, you can use an aluminium, brass or copper backing plate to assist you. But in this demonstration, I won't be doing that because you can get perfect results using the before mentioned technique on both sides and then sanding it back. Just remember, it'll take a little bit of practice to get this right. However, it's a technique worth learning and it will benefit you in the long run.
Thanks for watching these 10 tips. If you like what you saw, don't forget to like, subscribe and turn on the notification bell to never miss a video. See you all again soon.